Hello, everyone. Thanks for your participation in today's Boxhill Institute webinar. I'm Kathy from Yes Education Malaysia office, and we are happy today to have Miss Lian Koo with us, who will be conducting the webinar session. So we will allocate about 15 minutes towards the end of the session, and we would like to advise that if you have your audio and video on, a friendly reminder, please mute them to avoid any disruption during the session as we will be doing the recording. And so I leave it to Miss Lian Koo to introduce herself first.
Hi everyone, my name is Lian Koo and I'm based in Melbourne. So I have been with Boxhill Institute now for a number of years, and I'm the manager of international student recruitment. So in this training, I will be going through some of the key highlights and selling points of Boxhill Institute, as well as some of the popular courses and also the admission processes and things like that. I understand from Kathy that there are participants here from Indonesia, Malaysia, India, and Nepal as well. So I will try to cover as much as possible. There are slight different requirements for different countries. So the original presentation was a little bit more catered towards Malaysia and Indonesia, but I will have a chat a little bit about requirements for India and Nepal as well. So basically, in terms of Boxhill Institute, so one of the things that I can say is that basically we were the winner of the International Training Provider of the Year for 2018. So this is in the Australian Training Awards, which is a national award for all institutions around Australia. And also in 2016, we were also the winner of the Large Training Provider of the Year in Australia as well. So some of the selling points for Boxhill Institute is basically that our courses are very practical focused. So we are actually basically like a vet provider or a TAFE. And so we started off mainly with a lot of very, very practical courses, including still at the moment, things like, beauty, automotive, aviation, even hospitality as well. So we do have quite a lot of different areas that we do very, very practical work on, where students actually in a lot of the times like in a simulated environment, or they do placements outside and things like that. So we do try to bring a lot of that kind of the TAFE or vet part into quite a lot of our bachelor degrees as well. So our bachelor degrees are also quite practical as well. So the other good thing is that we do have small class sizes. So generally, the class sizes are about 25 to 30 students at the most, but generally, 20 to 25 in the normal class size. So they do get very personalized attention, and teachers generally know a lot of students by name as well. So as I mentioned a little bit before, like for example, we have simulated workplace environment. For example, if a student is doing a TAFE course in hospitality, we do have a training restaurant on campus where the students will have a chance to do a lot of practical things in the commercial kitchens, and also we've got a bar in the restaurant as well. Things like the Diploma of Early Childhood, we also have a simulated workplace environment. Our Diploma of Nursing, we also have a simulated workplace environment. So quite a lot of our courses, we do have simulated workplace environments for them as well, including things like automotive, where we do have a garage on campus as well. So what happens is that we do get work-ready graduates where they basically will be getting a lot of sort of like on the job training and things like that. Due to simulated workplace environments, we've got lecturers who are still in the industry, so they're able to go through step by step with students in practical tasks as well. So 9 out of 10 of our students basically will find a job within 6 months or will do further studies within 6 months as well. So we do have very good learning outcomes in terms of being work ready. So for example, one of our Diploma of Computer Systems graduate students, for example, was looking for a job, and they had the interview and everything, and then they were actually given a practical task. So in our Bachelor of Computer Systems, they can basically do either networking or cloud computing, and this student had done networking. So he was getting a job, and they gave him a task of, put him in front of a computer with a broken network, and he had to basically fix it on the spot. So because our courses are very practical, even in the bachelor degrees, the students are quite used to doing very practical tasks to sort of identify how work ready they are. So this student basically was able to fix the broken network on the spot and got the job. So, so we have lots of examples of sort of like alumni and things like that that do have a lot of they learn a lot of practical things during their degree or diplomas, and are able to basically demonstrate that they're able to be work ready and be on the job. Okay, so basically in my team, we've got some marketing staff and some admission staff, and also an inquiries, a new member in inquiries as well. So in the marketing area, we've got myself, and then I've got Bonnie Leng, who looks after basically marketing onshore, as well as communications with agents. So you might have potentially seen our monthly updates to the agents as well. And I also have Max, who is looking after offshore with me as well. So, so Max and I would travel overseas and potentially, might have met people in Malaysia or Indonesia, and we of course travel to India and Nepal as well. So in terms of admissions, we've got Hang Wei and Natsuki Kitano, who are managing the all the applications and things like that. And we have newly joined with us part-time Ichiro Satoyoshi, who deals with inquiries, and he does any sort of like pending or main offer follow-ups and things like that as well. Okay, so this is basically our current website, which is our international student website, and agents can basically go in and get all the different forms that you need as well. Just an update that our website will be changed potentially, I think, the end of next month. So it will have a very different look and things like that, but basically all the information that's on here will still be there anyway. So what I might do is just to go on to the website just to show you guys where everything is. So basically in terms of the courses are here. If you go on the course, you can actually see it goes from master degree all the way to the certificate 3 and ELICOS as well. So when it starts from the master course, you can actually go in and have a look at the information that's there. What might be quite useful for you guys would be, like you have the fees there, and academic requirements, such as, you either need to complete an undergraduate degree. But what might be quite useful for everyone here would be basically the units and subjects that you can actually see just a brief explanation of the different things that they might be doing, how many subjects that they will be doing, and things like that. So this can help you to advise the students as to what kind of subjects that they're doing as well. So over here, we do have things like English language requirements, so you can actually see everything here, and entry requirements as well. Okay, so this is basically under the courses for international students. This is also, the second one here is also a very important document. So this is the latest international course list and fees. So sometimes we do have printed brochures and flyers and things like that, which have been printed, but maybe last year or something like that. So anything that's most up to date will usually be uploaded on the website. And this is quite a good document to have on your favorites, because you can have a list of all the courses, which campus that they're at. So over here you can see the different campuses. We do have 3 campuses in for Boxhill Institute. One, the main campus is actually in Boxhill, which is about 13 kilometers away from the city. And you can get here by bus, by train, or by train, or by tram. The quickest way would be by train. So if they actually manage to get an express train, it's about 20 to 21 minutes. Otherwise, it's about 25 minutes to get here from the city. We also have a city campus, for which we have a few courses there, but much limited number of courses compared to Boxhill. So as you can see, the Bachelor of Commerce here has city campus. We also have a Lilydale campus. So for example, something that might be quite interesting for India and Nepal might be the Bachelor of Community Services. So we do have quite big interest for students from these regions, and that's at Lilydale. So Lilydale is actually slightly further east to Boxhill, and it takes about 55 minutes from the city, or about half an hour from Boxhill, basically. Okay. So other things, you can also find our course guide and brochures here, and you can also find the International Student Application Form here. If you go down, in terms of for India and Nepal, we will actually require them to also have the applicant GTE checklist form, which has to be filled out. For Indonesia and Malaysia, generally you do not have to fill this out unless we do find that if a student is not like a standard student or is slightly older or something like that, we may request that after you submit the application, but generally as a whole, we do not require this. Okay. So the admission requirements, we do require that all documents all their transcripts are certified original. So if you have actually seen the original documents, if you can certify that you have seen them, sign it and date it, and put a company stamp on it, that would be great. Generally for English requirements for Malaysia, we do accept 1119 English in SPM. To basically say that yes, they can meet the English requirement there. If they can't do that, then we do have an online placement test that students can do as well, which we make available for both Malaysia and Indonesia. In terms of for some of our courses with very high English requirements, like our Diploma of Nursing, which has an IELTS of 7.0, or the Bachelor of Early Childhood Education, which also has an IELTS of 7.0, we would then require students to do an IELTS, because that's the requirement from the faculty. But otherwise, from Malaysia and Indonesia, English requirements are possible to do via placement test. For applicants coming from India and Nepal, we would require for them to have IELTS, and in India, we do require that the IELTS be about IELTS 6.0 at least. So basically, these are like the admissions requirements with academic requirement, English requirements. Sometimes we also have special entry requirements as well. So for example, if a student has completed high school, more than a year ago, we would require them to explain what they have been doing since then. Any students coming from India and Nepal will also have to have a separate statement of purpose as well. And if there is a gap, then we would require like a resume. If they have work references and things like that, that would be helpful for us to have a look at to assess the application as well. In some cases, some courses might have a portfolio requirement or an audition or interview requirement, such as if a student is trying to get into graphic design and they don't want to do the certificate 4, if they have a portfolio, they can actually get directly into the diploma. In terms of some of our Bachelor of Music degrees, we would also either have an audition if it's in performance, and an interview as well. Sometimes they have an online music test that they have to do as well for certain of different courses in the bachelor degree, such as the one that has a major in performance, composition, or audio production as well. In some cases, there might be a questionnaire. For example, the Diploma of Early Childhood would have a questionnaire as to why they would like to undertake this course or become an early childhood educator as well. All right, so there are pathways to Boxhill Institute, like even from our courses itself. So for example, in the health area, we do have the Certificate 3 in Individual Support, which is the aged care course that they can come in and do before going into the Diploma of Community Services, or it's also a pathway to the Diploma of Nursing. So in some cases where, for example, in Malaysia, SPM, which is final year of high school generally, is only equivalent to year 11. So in a lot of cases, we do have diplomas or bachelor degrees with the year 12 entry requirements. So this would be a good pathway for students to start off with a Certificate 3 first as a pathway into, for example, the Diploma of Nursing that normally requires, if they have done year 12, so in Indonesia, if they've done year 12, they can go directly into the Diploma of Nursing if they have met the prerequisite of 1 maths and 1 science subject as well. So this would also be the same for India and Nepal. If in Nepal they've done PCL, we can accept that, or if they've just done generally the normal high school, which I understand now has the GPA as well. So other pathways to Boxhill Institute courses could be, as I mentioned previously, a Certificate 4 in Design, which is normally 6 months. So if a student does not have any background at all in design, they will be required to do the Certificate 4 in Design first for 6 months prior to going to the Diploma of Graphic Design and the Advanced Diploma of Graphic Design as well. So what's great about the graphic design area, which is a relatively new area that has opened up for international students, while we have been doing this for domestic students for a long time, but in terms of the Diploma of Graphic Design, if they don't have any background, they can start off with the Certificate 4 in Design, which will give them some background. Then in the first year of the Diploma of Graphic Design, they will be learning about concepts and starting to put together project work. But under the Advanced Diploma of Graphic Design, it gets quite exciting for them because we have a lot of links to the industry. So a lot of companies would come to us with projects for students, and they would be able to give them a brief, and they would go away and do the project, come back, present to the company, and the company normally will pick a design, a winning design. So the great thing about having real life workplace projects is that by the end of the Advanced Diploma in Graphic Design, they have quite a good portfolio that they can then use in order to, you know, find a job if they need to, or to prove, you know, their talent basically. So in terms of mainly again for Malaysian students, if they have completed just SPM, the Certificate 4 in Design can also be a pathway to the Bachelor of Fashion or the Bachelor of Fashion Merchandising as well. This usually wouldn't be the case for Indonesia, India, and Nepal because they would be able to kind of basically go directly into the bachelor degree. Again, because I originally thought that this was mainly focusing on Malaysia and Indonesia, like there are basically a Certificate 4 in Business or Accounting that students can do as well. Prior to going into the bachelor degree, whereas Indonesia, India, and Nepal can go directly into the bachelor degree. So one other thing also is that we currently don't accept under 18 students, so students will have to be over 18 by the time of commencement as well. So in terms of, we do have some hospitality pathways as well. So for students who have only done a year 11, which is again SPM in Malaysia, they can actually come directly into the diploma via the Certificate 3, 4, and Diploma of Hospitality, which is 2 years, and get 1 year credit into the Bachelor of Hospitality Management. So coming in from year 11, Or it's also quite popular for Indonesian students to be doing this way. Sometimes Indonesian students only want to do up to the diploma of hospitality management, specializing in commercial cookery. We also have a certificate to diploma in patisserie area as well. We have 3 diplomas in hospitality. One is commercial cookery, one is patisserie, and both are 2 years, and they both get 1 year credit into the Bachelor of Hospitality Management with a year 11 entry requirements. If a student has year 12 entry requirements and they just wanted to do a 1 year diploma, so this is also a popular course for Indonesian students, for example, they could do the Diploma of Hospitality Management, specializing in bars, hotels, and restaurants, which is not as specialized as commercial cookery or patisserie, but they will learn basically how to manage a restaurant. So they learn very basic things like table setting, waitering, and even sort of like billing and things like that. So our training restaurant is actually open to public. So we do have kind of real people from outside coming to the training restaurant to eat, and they have to handle money and things like that as well. So they also learn how to do things like wine appreciation and learning how to make coffee and things like that as well in the training restaurant. Generally for India and Nepal, we would prefer students and encourage them to go directly into the bachelor degree. So that might be the Bachelor of Commerce or the Bachelor of Hospitality Management. So one of the things you might have seen when I brought up the course list before is that the Bachelor of Commerce and Bachelor of Hospitality Management, which is 2 of our most popular courses in different countries actually for international students to come into, is also because this is actually taught in the city campus. So city campus is actually on Flinders Lane, which is just 1 lane away from Flinders Street Station. So it's a very convenient place for the students to be studying as well. The other thing I'd like to mention also with the Bachelor of Commerce and Bachelor of Hospitality Management is that we do have a compulsory internships that students can do. Well, they have to do it actually, it's part of the subjects in 3rd year. So we will actually locate an internship for the students, and they will do like a workplace internship, which is about a minimum of 100 hours that they do. A common question is whether students will be paid to do this internship, and the answer is no, they're not going to be paid because it's part of their course and they're gaining work experience as well while they're doing this internship project. So I think this is one of the very good selling points for the Bachelor of Commerce and Bachelor of Hospitality Management, because it's definitely a guaranteed internship in the 3rd year. So another area that's very popular is the Bachelor of Computer Systems. So we do have the Commerce, Hospitality, and Computer Systems, and because it's our 3 most popular course for bachelor degrees, we actually have 3 intakes in a year as well. So we have the normal February intake, the July intake, and we also have a November intake for students. So this might work out quite well for different countries depending on when they complete their high school and whether they've met English requirements or not. In terms of the Bachelor of Computer Systems, we are actually a Cisco center, so a lot of people from outside will come to do training to get their Cisco certification. And Cisco is embedded into our Bachelor of Computer Systems, which I did mention before. We do have 2 majors. They can do cloud computing or networking within the Bachelor of Computer Systems. We also do a lot of training for industry for Microsoft, VMware, and Oracle, and we're the first educational partner for Huawei as well. So in terms of the Bachelor of Computer Systems, this actually isn't in the city campus. It is actually at Boxhill campus. So which is where we also have other IT courses in the VET or area, including cybersecurity as well. So these are also some of the pathways, again, for students who have not met the year 12, they can also do like a certificate for in IT leading into the Bachelor of Computer Systems, if they would like. If students, for example, would like to do the Bachelor of Computer Systems, in terms of if they're from Malaysia or Indonesia, if they're from Malaysia, generally, if they've only finished SPM, they'd have to do the Certificate 4 in IT. We do have a Diploma of Computer Systems as well, which is a one-year course for which they will get 1 year credit into the Bachelor of Computer Systems. So sometimes Indonesian students might not have good enough English and they might want to do that instead as a package, the Diploma of Computer Systems to the Bachelor of Computer Systems. So we also have other pathways for students to get into the Bachelor of Biosecurity Science, for example, is we're the only ones in Australia, I believe, that has Bachelor of Biosecurity Science. It's a 3-year program and it's at the Lilydale campus. So we do have a biosecurity center there, and it's getting quite popular actually in terms of Australia being very strict with biosecurity. They do a lot of biology lab work. They study basically plant and animal disease a lot and what to do in a biosecurity emergency as well. Okay. So these are the hospitality areas that I have mentioned before, the 3 different diplomas that we have leading into the Bachelor of Hospitality Management. So other bachelor degree courses that we have we do have quite a lot of them in different areas. And I know that some of you might have some questions and it might be quite difficult to cover all the courses basically. But just an idea for you guys to have a look at. One of the things I'd probably like to mention is that we do have, as you can see, quite a few music courses. We actually have 5 bachelor degrees in music. We even have a master degree as well in music. So we do have the Centre for Excellence in Music, which has just been recently opened last year. And one of the things is that we actually do have partnered up with Sing Sing, which is a recording company, and they actually have one of their studios based in Boxhill Institute as one of their sort of like recording studios that they do. So potentially we could have some artists that are coming in to record music in Boxhill, and it would actually provide an excellent, again, very practical experience for students to see how it's done in the industry as well. So the other one that I'd like to highlight, basically the Bachelor of Applied Music in Audio Production and Bachelor of Sound Production. A lot of people often ask me what the difference between the 2 courses are. So with audio production, they do a lot of work within the recording studio. So actually filtering out all the ambient noises and things like that and making sure that the sound is very clear, and basically recording either, you know, with the artist or with the band or something like that. So they do a lot of that in audio production and basically specialize in that. Under the Bachelor of Sound Production, which seems to be getting a lot more popular than audio production because it gives the students a broader base. So half of this bachelor degree in sound production is learning about audio production and recording studio stuff. But they also learn in sound production about film, radio, and things like that. So anything to do with sound, they could basically work in after they finish. For example, if they're working in film or if they're working in TV, they could be putting music or sound into films and TV shows. They could be working in concerts. They could be working in even a stadium because they need a sound system for that as well. So it gives them a much wider reach for students in terms of job opportunities after they've finished, because they can do the recording studio stuff, but they can also do a lot of different areas after they've finished. The Bachelor of Applied Business in Music Industry is a very interesting one, and I think it's quite a unique course for us. I think a lot of Asians do have quite a bit of proportion of students. or applicants actually have an interest in music, or they actually have a background in music. While they're growing up, they might be learning the violin, or they're doing singing, or they're learning to play the piano and things like that. But if they're not maybe that interested in becoming a performer, for example, or the parents prefer them to do a business degree, this is actually the perfect degree for them to get into, because it is, to me, a win-win situation where the parents would be quite happy for them to do business. But if the students are actually interested in music and business, it's actually a good platform for them as well. So after they finish this business in music industry, they can, for example, become agents for artists. They can become event managers, or organize concerts, and things like that as well, or even manage a recording studio, or open up a recording studio as well. So they will learn some business subjects in there. So they learn a little bit about accounting and HR and marketing and event management, but they also learn things like, company law, but they will learn about copyright law and things like that that are related to music industry. So I think it's a very unique and interesting course that we have, seeing as we're quite specialized in music area as well. So these are some of our student stories. We actually have students winning, representing Victoria for the OzTAFE Culinary Cook-Off in 2016 and 17 as well. This is one of our distinguished alumni who did the music degree in composition, and he's actually part of the team that composed music for National Geographic and Simpsons and Survivor and Assassin's Creed computer games as well. This is one of our alumni as well, and she's actually graduated last year, and she's not only won the world's largest sustainable fashion award last year, but when she was studying, she also joined the Melbourne Fashion Week, and she won the Best Student Designer in 2017. So this is Adam Goin. So he actually also has just graduated last year in the Bachelor of Applied Business in Music Industry. I did mention that a lot of the teachers that we have are still in industry. So one of his lecturers actually was working backstage in the Adele concert when she came here in 2018. And so he actually got to meet the production manager and got a backstage tour and looked at what it's really like, because he was actually interested in the concert scene. It was a really, really great opportunity for him to see what it's really like, and to see how much passion that people in the music industry have. So one of the things that we do have is also the public transport discount scheme. So any students that are doing the bachelor degree, associate degree, advanced diploma, or diploma course can actually get half price of the annual or yearly MyKey card, and they generally save more than $800 per year, but they will have to, because it's 50% off, they will have to come up with $800 and something dollars as well in order to purchase this card. But it works out to be, very cheap per day. It's less than $2.50 per day for them to actually get around in Melbourne on buses, trams, and trains on the MyKey. So I think that must be basically nearly coming to the end of my presentation. We do provide free airport pickup for the first time for students who are arriving, and we also, of course, have orientation program for them where the student life staff will be introducing themselves, and we have actually a dedicated language and academic student life support staff, and he does travel between the different campuses. And we also have a student welfare officer as well for when students just need some help or need to talk to someone, or if they're homesick or something like that. There is definitely help that is specifically for international students, but they can also talk to, like every faculty will also have student life staff as well in different campuses as well, which they also obviously have access to. So I think we have covered quite a bit of different courses and things like that. I'm sure there might be quite a lot of questions. So I think I'll just finish off here and pass it back to Kathy.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Lian. We now open for discussion. If any of you have any questions, feel free to type in the chat box.
Yep. Okay, I've just opened the chat box. Okay, let's go.
Would you be able to tell us a little bit about automotive courses as well, since in Malaysia we do have some inquiries on automotive courses?
Sure. In terms of automotive, we have normally for students, they can come in after basically SPM. Again, if they're over 18. In terms of automotive, it's a 2-year course, and it is actually made up of 3 courses. One is the Certificate 3, which is 1 year, followed by the Certificate 4, which is 6 months, followed by the Diploma of Automotive, which is 6 months. So yes, it is a relatively popular course for Malaysian students to come in to do this course as well. So we do have, as I mentioned, this course is in Boxhill campus, and we have a garage, and you know, we do try to find out what is the latest thing that is going on in the industry. So for example, if they have a new piece of machinery or something like that that is used to test, I don't know, battery efficiency or something like that, you know, they would get a lot of times the people out to either train the teachers, or they might even come and actually talk to the students so that they can actually see the different new machinery that they might be using and things like that. So we do work very closely with the industry. We have quite a few cars on campus that students can practice on as well. So they do quite a lot of practical work, but they also do some work within classrooms if they do need to do some theory.
Oh, that's great. We have another question from Robin. Please clear me about the transport discount. Yeah, so maybe it wasn't so clear. Could you please repeat again?
Yeah, so basically this is not something that every single TAFE, we were actually the first TAFE that actually participated in this scheme. So basically anybody who has enrolled or is planning to enroll into a bachelor degree, associate degree, advanced diploma, or diploma, once they actually get here, they will be obviously told all these things at orientation as well, which is compulsory for students to attend. So they will basically need to go to the student administration once they have enrolled with their COE, so that they can check that they've got, you know, so if, for example, a student, normally not for Indonesia, Malaysia, Nepal, or India, but certain countries, for example, maybe Taiwan or South Korea, for example, that might have students coming only to do English courses, will not be eligible for this public transport discount scheme. So they do have to be enrolled in a minimum diploma and all the way to bachelor. So the master degree, unfortunately, maybe because we're a TAFE institution and not many TAFE institutions have master degrees, that's not covered. But basically, once they're enrolled, they will get a discount coupon, and they can go and use that to purchase their yearly ticket. So from the time they start, they can purchase a half price card, because in Australia we basically have, you know, you can buy a daily ticket or a monthly ticket, or just, you know, like a and not do, or you can also do a yearly ticket. So basically the longer that you buy it, such as a yearly ticket, it's you know, the cost will be significantly higher, but then it's a discount as well. Like per day, it's cheaper than, for example, buying a daily ticket. So I think a daily ticket might cost more than $8 if you're just getting a ticket once in a while. But if you actually have a yearly ticket at half price, if you divide that by 365 days, it's less than $2.50 a day that students will be able to travel around metropolitan Melbourne. They can't use the MyKey or these daily tickets to go to regional Victoria like Bendigo and places like that, but generally just within Melbourne and the suburbs, it's all covered.
Great. Is there any other questions?
So I suppose if anybody is applying, they should be sending. I'll just open up the application form so that people. Oh, sorry, wrong one. So this is our international application form. It is about 4 pages, but it's just filling out all these things. And the email that you need to send all the supporting documents to is into applications@boxhill.edu.au. So it's on the application form itself.
We have another question. For Bachelor of Computer Science, do Cisco comes with it and provide some project as well to students?
Okay, Cisco itself, not really. They don't really come in to provide any projects and stuff, but it's basically they learn a lot about Cisco within the classes. So because we're a Cisco center and the Cisco components are embedded into the bachelor degree, basically at the end of this course, they can actually do the Cisco certification on campus. I believe it only costs about $150 to get the certification. And the lecturers say that basically they learn a lot more than just what the certificate does. So it's what they learn in our bachelor degree, they would have no problems getting the certification. I'd also like to mention that our Bachelor of Computer Systems has ACS accreditation. So we're the only VET provider within Victoria that has Australian Computer Society accreditation for this course.
Right. Maybe you can share with us as well about the student population currently at Boxhill.
Yeah, so the student population currently at Boxhill, like as you saw, we did win the Large Training Provider of the Year award. We currently have about 40,000 students onshore and offshore, but we do have less than 1,000 international students. So in terms of the student population, again, depending on the courses that they enrolled in, would have kind of a higher chance of being in classes with Australian students because the number of international students aren't as high in comparison. But we do have, I would say that all the countries represented here, which is India, Nepal, Malaysia, and Indonesia, are within our top 10 nationalities. So, I mean, we do have students also from China and Taiwan, Hong Kong, South Korea, even Mauritius. So we actually have students from more than 50 different countries. And we have, I suppose, to a smaller scale, you know, occasional students from even the US, some students from Canada in different courses, students from Latin America, and Africa and things like that as well.
Okay. We have another question here. Can you
Yeah.
please explain the gap? How long is the maximum gap that Boxhill can accept for a Bachelor in Hospitality Management?
Okay. Generally, I think that like we don't really like in terms of GTE for students to be sitting around at home doing nothing for too long a time. So if a student has been studying something, we generally say less than 1 year. So we wouldn't want a student to be sitting around for a year or more before they start studying with us, for like, yeah, a year or more. So generally, if it's kind of like, if we're getting applications coming in from India and Nepal, they generally have to apply quite early as well. We would prefer at a minimum if they could try to apply 3 months beforehand if possible, or at least, yeah, about 3 months is kind of a bit more comfortable for us, which means that generally, we don't want students to, yeah, I think anything less than a year from the time that they start the course with us. Yeah. After intermediate, it's 3 years, but has work experience. Is that okay? Work experience generally, yes, it is okay. We look at the students as a whole. So this is not really in terms of the academic or English part, but more the GTE part. So depending on where the student is coming from, whether it's a high risk region, how old the students are. So if the student has already done intermediate, I'm not sure whether this means that they've finished class 12, and then they've done 3 years of work experience. We would probably need a resume and some work references if they have some. Then we may consider that. So the gap is a little bit more usually in between their studies. So if they have been working and they can explain that, we do look at it overall. We don't guarantee that we can take them in, because if they're 42 years old or something like that, and they can explain that they've been working all this while, but it does really depend on what they've been doing and things like that. So in terms of GTE, obviously, if a student's coming directly from high school, there would be considerably lower risk for us and yourselves as well, in terms of getting a visa. So if a student is coming from India, we do look at like different things as well. But definitely, if they have some work experience, that is, at least they're not sitting at home doing nothing. Yeah.
Okay. We have another question here.
Yep.
What is the minimum entry requirement score for triple one?
Triple one
I
nine.
think
Yeah.
it's triple 19 English.
Yeah. So generally, we are looking at a C grade to get
C6.
into basically diplomas or bachelor degrees can be accepted.
So even if the student were to take a certificate 3 in individual support package with a diploma of nursing, so IELTS 7.0 would need to be met. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
So if a student, nursing and early childhood is a little bit stricter in a sense, because in some ways they, like for example, the diploma of nursing, after they complete this, they would actually be, they can apply with the nursing board, which is ANMAC, Australian Nursing and Midwifery Board, and they can become an enrolled nurse or a Division 2 nurse. So this requirement actually was set down by the nursing board, and they would actually require that all TAFE diploma students have the IELTS 7 prior to starting the diploma. So that we can do a package, but for example, sometimes we had students doing this package from Malaysia because they already have like a 6.5 or something like that, and they might need a little bit more time to just get to the 7. Sometimes they have an IELTS 7 with one band in 6.5, and then they just say, okay, I'll take another IELTS, but in the meantime, why don't I just do the aged care course as well? So they do require either TOEFL or IELTS or OET or Pearson's. Or if they've had, I believe it's 5 years of studying high school continuously in Australia, or studying English, yeah, or studying in an English medium for 5 years.
Okay. We have another question. Can student go for Diploma of Community Service leading to Bachelor with 5.5 IELTS score?
Yes, they can. But again, I think we tend to be more strict for students coming from Nepal and India. If it is Indian application, we would prefer for students to have an IELTS of 6.0. From Nepal. Okay, with the IELTS 5.5, it is possible, but then we would be looking at like maybe a bit better results in high school. Because again, generally with Nepalese, the English is relatively good, and it's normally not a problem for students to get to an IELTS 6.0, we find. So that is preferred. If they come in through the diploma, it is 1.5 years plus 2 years, so it's 3.5 years altogether, because it's not like just a 1 plus 2, it's 1.5 plus 2. And more COEs is basically more risk as well in terms of GTE.
So if any of you have any applications or questions, feel free to check with either Joy in Indonesia, Bo for Nepal and India, or myself for Malaysia. We are happy to get any inquiries from you and help to answer after the session. Yeah.
Yeah, and Kathy, like you have a list of other questions and things like that, you can always feel free to send me WhatsApp or something like that, and I'll be happy to help you out.
Yeah. So I think there's no more questions. Anything else that you like us to know?
Yeah, I think it's just I guess when putting together the application, we do require a copy of the passport, as well as any academic documents that they have. So usually, if students come from high school in India, we would require class 10 and class 12 at least, and anything after, if they've done like a diploma or any in some cases maybe work experience or something like that. We obviously prefer students to come fresh from high school if that's the case. But basically, yeah, certification of all the documents. If you have seen the originals, we'll have a look at that. And yeah, and basically, if they have done the IELTS already, just a copy of the IELTS as well would be great.
Okay, one final question. If the students are saving money and transaction in cooperative, is it accepted?
Um, I'm not quite sure what the transaction incorporated. Does that mean in like a package? If they do a package offer? So generally, if it is a package, sometimes we do, for example, if a student's doing a diploma plus a bachelor package, then they will be required to pay for 1 semester of diploma, and half of 1 semester for the bachelor degree. So it is in a way, don't know if that's kind of saving money or not, but then at least they get a package visa. The GTE approval, some students have money in cooperative bank. Is this in Nepal? I have, we have someone in Nepal that might be able to assist more specifically with this question, if it is Nepal. I can definitely get back to you about that. Generally, we look at banks, but I can just double check if you can confirm that it's a Nepal question or whether it's an India question.
でも、どっちにせよ、こっちの仕事を放置して、フラフに行かないし、来週。
I have a feeling it's Nepal, but, so I can try and find out. Is there any specific banks for Boxhill for Nepal? Yes, we do. I can definitely get the list and I'll pass it on to Kathy, if that's okay.
Yes, sure.
Okay. Let's see.
Okay, if there are no more questions, I think we will wrap up and call it a day. Thank you everyone for your participation. So we hope to hear from you. If you have any questions, do send to Yes Education to Bo or to Joy or to myself. So, and thank you, Lian, for this session. Thank you so
No
much.
problem.
Bye
Nice
bye.
to see you guys. Bye.